Hi, everyone. So, there's something very interesting that we're going to talk about today. Why? Because this particular theory, or I should say, this idea, is very relatable to us. जब भी colonialism की बात आती है, no matter this generation, our previous generation, or the generations that are yet to be born, will always remember one very important fact that we were colonies. We were colonies to the British Empire, and for 200 years, we were complete subjects, and we were ruled upon by them. So, this idea of post colonial theory that we're going to talk about today is very deeply ingrained within us. It is very deeply rooted to our own understanding of our own existence. And this is the reason कि ये बहुत ही relatable idea है. Theory तो ये बाद में बना, कैसे बना, किस तरह से बना, I will talk about it. But firstly, let me know, guys, in the comment section that I'm audible, I'm visible, everything is clear. If anything is wrong with the video or anything, just let me know quickly. I'll just double check whether everything is good. So there's something very interesting that, all right, I think we are good to go, guys. And post-colonial theory, as we know that around Second World War, 1945 के बाद, इसको सब लोग एक story की तरह सुनो, guys. मैं बहुत interesting बनाऊंगी इसको. 1945 के बाद, when things really went bad for England, so finally, because of the freedom struggles across the globe that were happening, India को 1947 में आज़ादी मिली. Now, for a long, long time, we were gripped under the colonial rule. लेकिन जब ये हमें आज़ादी मिली, तो जिस independence की जो लहर थी, वो सिर्फ हमारे physical, geographical boundaries तक नहीं थी. ये नहीं कि अंग्रेज चले गए और हम लोग completely आज़ाद हो गए. No. Psychologically, emotionally, culturally, linguistically, the Britishers had captured us completely. And this did not only happen with India, this happened with Africa, with Australia, with Canada, with Ireland, with all the countries that were ruled by the British. Now comes the point that what is post-colonial? Now we know what is colonialism because we were the subjects. Post matlab hota hai after. What happens after colonialism? The story does not end there. The story actually begins. India begins from there. Post-colonial theory, if we say that. So 1947 के बाद for a long time, एक तो सबसे पहले अगर हम इंडिया के बारे में बात करें, अभी I'll talk about the bigger subject. तो for a long time, everybody was against the idea of English. They were like, हम लोग क्यों English पढ़ रहे हैं? हमारी भाषा नहीं है, अंग्रेजों की भाषा से छोड़ो. लेकिन however, still official language के लिए, एक connecting language के लिए, एक pan-Indian language बनने के लिए, English was kept. So linguistically, English was still taken into consideration that yes, it's a language which is connecting from the north to the south, from the east to the west. So let this be the language of our country officially, documents, legally. However, there were many other factors which all the countries that were under colonialism, they fought a lot. One of that was the psychological impact. They made us feel inferior. They made us feel कि हम लोग culturally uncultured है, हमारे culture नहीं है, हमारी civilization खराब है, हमारे ancestors के पास कोई knowledge नहीं थी. Thomas Babington Macaulay ने ये तक बोला है that a shelf of English literature books is more than enough as compared to all the literature that has been written by Indians in Sanskrit and in Persian. Now, this was a very derogatory statement that was made by them, but this they made for everyone. जहाँ पे भी जाते थे, उनको लगता था white man's burden है और हम लोगों को इनको जो है सुधारना है. ये जो mindset था, ये सिर्फ Britishers का नहीं था, ये French colonizers का भी था. The French colonial rulers, they also thought कि हम लोग को अफ्रीका में ये सुधार करना है. So Black Skin, White Mask by Frantz Fanon, Wretched of the Earth, और Edward Said का Orientalism, all these books really played a very important way to establish post-colonialism as a theory. Post-colonial theory emerges from them. So I hope everybody is interested to learn about this because we're going to talk about when did it start, how it began, and what is its situation now, and are we still under this theory of post-colonialism? So let's talk about it. So here it is. What is post-colonialism? The aftermath of the empire, be it the French Empire, the Portugal Empire, the British Empire, anything that I talk about. So post-colonialism is the study of cultural, political, psychological, geographical, whatever that you could think that makes our identity. That's the impact of colonization on formerly colonized nations. Okay, so you think of any other, the entire Indian subcontinent was a colonial, was a colony. So now the post and post-colonialism, what is that? It does not mean colonialism has ended completely. It affects us still. So it refers to the discourse that begins once a nation starts to resist and move beyond colonial rule. तो हम लोग ने कहा कि हम लोग resist करेंगे जो हम पे impact Britishers ने डाला है. Why should we continue, let that impact continue our lives? No, we got to resist this, resist that culture. We got to resist that psychological impact. We got to resist that thinking, and then only will we be able to be satisfied with our own identity. The Indian culture, the Indianness that we have within us, that will only accentuate when we resist and tell ourselves consciously that no, our language, our culture, our identity is much more powerful than any of the Britishers or any of the colonial rulers' identity. So now the power of the world, it asks, how does a colonized person reclaim their voice after being told for centuries that their culture is inferior? So that is the moot element, that's the most important, most significant point, wherein we say that हम लोग कैसे अपने आप को आइडेंटिफाई करें, बोलें कि नहीं, दिस इज समथिंग दैट हम लोग, हमें जो इतना टाइम से वी वर मेड फील inferior, how are we going to get that superiority back? So that becomes very important and interesting. Now, Edward Said and Orientalism. If we talk about a watershed event that happened in post-colonial theory, and that was in 1978 when Edward Said brought Orientalism. Why do I say a watershed event? Because this book made such a significant impact on the entire world. It actually stated very explicitly, categorically, कि जो Britishers थे, they played with us. The Britishers very meticulously, strategically, in a very calculative manner, they made the world think that they are the most superior. Be it the language, their skin color, the way they speak, the way they talk, their mannerisms, their culture, everything is much more superior as compared to the other world, especially the East. कि East inferior है, कुछ नहीं आता है, uncultured है, uncivilized है. So they very calculatedly created a binary. They said cultured is West, uncultured is East, civilized is West, uncivilized is East, white is West, black is East. So you get it. This is what he has written in his work, and उन्होंने दिखाया है, not only this binary, but they made a completely fantastical fantasy world of the East. They said that, East ऐसा दिखता है, जैसे हम लोग कार्टून्स में नहीं देखते थे, अलादीन का कारपेट उड़ रहा है, जिनी आ रहा है. So this was actually an idea that was presented to the world. They made us a very exotic land, something that's beyond a normal civilization, and that is mysterious. Something कि लोग एक exotic चीज से हम लोग को identify करने लगे थे. So we automatically became different. So what did he argue? So over here, Said argued that the West, that is the Occident, जो West को Occident बोलते हैं, East को Orientalist बोलते हैं. So Said argued that the West, the Occident created a fictional version of the East, a fictional version. They actually made the people believe कि कैसी दुनिया है, and they made whatever nonsense stories they could make. To justify ruling over it. Okay, हमें uncivilized, uncultured दिखाना था, and they made up stories. They portrayed the East as exotic, irrational, uncouth, uncultured, and mysterious. Knowledge as power. Said's main point was that knowledge is not innocent. The books written by British scholars about India were tools used to maintain political control. And do we really think that these books were innocent? Not at all. Now there were theorists, there was Gauri Vishwanathan ka Mask of Conquest. In fact, today I was discussing the same book with my students in the paid lecture in the morning when I told them कि ऐसे जो works हैं Gauri Vishwanathan के, Edward Said के, ये सारे works that made us feel, they told us actually that this was all very very calculatedly done. ऐसा नहीं कि बस ऐसा हो गया. उन्होंने strategically सोचा, लिखा, बताया इसके बारे में ताकि हम लोगों को uncivilized दिखाया जाए. Now, Homi K. Bhabha, mimicry, hybridity, and ambivalence. If we talk about Edward Said, Gauri Vishwanathan, then another literary theory that's very important when it comes to post-colonialism, and that is Homi K. Bhabha. Now, Bhabha is known for his complex but essential concepts. What are his concepts? Let's talk about mimicry. Mimicry, a very simple word, but when we talk about the post-colonial context, what it is, the colonized person is encouraged to mimic the Englishman in language and dress, but is never accepted as an equal. So, you know what colonization does to us? कि वो masters हैं और हम लोग servants हैं. So what do? We try to emulate them. We try to copy them. जिस तरह वो पहनते हैं, जिस तरह वो लिखते हैं, जिस तरह वो बात करते हैं, that's mimicry. लेकिन इस पूरे एपिसोड में इनोसेंट एक्ट नहीं होता है. दिस इज प्लेइंग विद आवर माइंड. दिस इज मेकिंग अस फील कि वी आर इंफीरियर. वी गॉट टू कॉपी द सुपीरियर रेस. And that is where the distinction becomes so stark. And then we start realizing that we're losing ourselves. So Bhabha calls this being almost the same, but not quite. Do you think that an Indian can actually become a British? Not at all. The way British cannot become an Indian who's rooted in his culture, in his language, in his ethos, will never be able to be completely a British. And why should we be? Why should we just be that? Why aren't we taking pride in our own Indian identity? So he argues that colonial culture is not pure. It is a third space where the cultures of the colonizer and the colonized mix to create something new and subversive. So hybridity. Ab isne bola that there is a place called hybridity. Now this place is neither over here, which is, the colonizer ka, ruler ka, master ka, and this is basically, us, the subjects. So he said that this is the place wherein these two sections meet. And yahan pe, this is where the hybridity comes. And, when two cultures meet, there's of course going to be a very different way. So one culture will definitely feel inferior to the other. And who felt inferior? The subjects, the colonized people, and that is us. Now, Gayatri Chakravarti Spivak, Can the Subaltern Speak? A very seminal text, guys. And this is something, it created a complete uproar in the post-colonial world. Spivak adds a feminist and Marxist layer to this theory. Now, what do you mean by the term subaltern? Once you understand it, you can decode this entire book. So this term refers to the lowest layers of the society, the marginalized and who have no voice in the master narrative. So basically the people who do not have any say, जो voiceless है. So subaltern is basically an army term, लेकिन उसने गायत्री चक्रवर्ती स्पीवैक ने यहाँ पे use किया है, saying that subalterns reflect the people who exist, who physically are present, but their voices are not heard. They are not able to articulate their own predicaments. They're basically voiceless. So over here, she also said that she suggests that marginalized groups should temporarily solidify their identity to fight for their rights, even if their identities are actually diverse and complex. So strategic essentialism is another term that she included, which is very important to understand. So she says that, feminism, जैसे अगर हम बात करें feminism की, अब white America में जो feminism की आवाज उठती है, that is very different from what Indian feminism is about. American feminism is about maybe equal pay, equal, liberty, equal sense of power. However, still in India, we are fighting for dowry. We are fighting for female infanticide. However, हमारे लड़ने की वजह अलग है, लेकिन हमारा मुद्दा एक है. हमें इक्वालिटी चाहिए. सो वो कह रही है कि कोई बात नहीं, अगर अमेरिका का फेमिनिज्म के प्रॉब्लम्स अलग हैं और हमारे प्रॉब्लम्स अलग हैं, इट्स ओके, लेकिन हम लोग को साथ में लड़ना चाहिए. आर demands could be different. Our demands could be different. Our choices could be different. What we're asking for could be different. However, we all are fighting for the same cause, and that is equality. So that should be there. So that is what she talks about, strategic essentialism. Similarly, when we talk about colonizers, maybe Africa mein jo colonization jo hua, that was different to what happened in India or in Canada and Australia, but still we all come under this umbrella term of colonial subject, and we identify together. No matter हमारे पे जो भी atrocities हुई वो different हुई हो, but at least we all were subjects. So that is strategic essentialism. Now, Franz Fanon का The Psychology of the Colonizer, Franz Fanon को जो Black Skin White Mask था, that's a very interesting text. I would recommend everyone to read that text. बहुत ही simple language में लिखा है, बहुत ही अच्छी तरीके से लिखा है. Meanwhile, I'll just see in the comment section if anybody has asked me anything, if anyone wants to talk about anything. All right, just let me see quickly. Okay. So if anyone has any issues, guys, you guys can ask me right now in the comment section. I will just resolve all the concerns regarding post-colonial theory. I hope you guys are understanding it. So when you talk about Frantz Fanon, Black Skin, White Mask is the text that comes to mind because that is very important. He explained how colonized people feel a double consciousness. They are taught to hate their own culture and strive for a whiteness they can never achieve. So as I was telling in the beginning, that is exactly what psychology does to you under colonial rule. So यहाँ पे क्या होता है, we feel that, oh, look at them. I wish I was this white. I wish I was British. I wish I had those blue eyes, that white skin. So we try to copy them, emulate them. However, वो होता नहीं. तो, ultimately, consequence क्या होता है इसका? We start hating ourselves. So now the need for decolonization, so there is a purpose, conscious need to decolonize ourselves. Fanon argued that true freedom requires a total cleansing of the colonial mindset. So we got to wipe off all the colonial mindsets that we have. कि जो fair skin होती है वही अच्छी होती है, blue eyes अच्छी होती हैं, or copying that culture is a very cool thing. All those things should actually get off our minds. And why is this theory so relevant? Because it still exists. All those dogmas, all those concerns that gripped those people at that time still grip us in this time, especially in the time of social media. Now, reclaiming the language, writing back to the center, this is where this is where how things really actually happen. And when you talk about the language debate, Gugi hai, Chinua Achebe hai, so many authors, so many literary theories, they all talk about decanonizing. Basically that they talk about कि यहाँ पे जो canon है, जो western canon है, जो कि सिर्फ और सिर्फ male writers को, male white writers को focus करता है, that needs to be decanonized. और African writers, Indian writers, Canadian writers, Australian writers, जो कि बेहद अच्छे हैं, who are extremely good, they should also be, their voices should not be stifled. They should also be heard. So guys, conclusion to this, decolonizing the mind. So breaking the canon, it allows us to move beyond the great white men. We got to see ourselves on the same pedestal. We got to stop feeling that inferiority complex within us. We got to stop not only, in the domain of literature, but in every which way, be it our own culture, be it our own civilization, the fixation with the West being superior to us, that needs to go away. That is post-colonial theory saying. That's the only idea that post-colonial theory propagates. That accept your identity, accept whoever you are, be it your skin, be it your culture, your language, your the way you live life, your geography, your everything about your own country, about your own self, your own identity. Don't loosen that. Do not feel lesser of that. So that is what the idea is, that breaks the canon. So over here, continuous process. And as educators, we must know this and consciously put this. A lot of people are not aware about how much colonialism has affected us. And we think, 70 years ho gaye, 75 years ho gaye, and why are we talking about it? But we are wrong. Even today's generation or whatever generation that's going to come, we cannot wipe it off because our past is somewhere very much there in our present. And we, as educators, as people who are aware of it, as students, as scholars who are aware of post-colonial theory, should always spread this, propagate this idea. And this is the reason that this topic becomes very relevant for UPSC students, because we still are gripped under this post-colonial colonial radar, and we got to always combat it consciously. And once you do it consciously, it enters your subconscious mind and then that fades off. So this is something that's very important. It can be asked in your paper, in your optional paper. It can be asked in the interview. There are so many ideas that post-colonial theory propagates. So guys, I'm your English literature educator. Every day at 1 p.m. I take the class. Whatever course is there from the scratch, that is from the Renaissance age, from the King Lear to your modern, that most modern age, everything is discussed in the class with great detail. We have great discussions, discourses. I give you all the notes that are there, whatever that I teach. We have all the PYQ, jitne bhi previous year questions ke model answers hain, anticipated questions, the questions expected hai, jo wo aane wale hain, everything is discussed in the class. And we have everyday class hoti hai, 1 p.m. mein live class hoti hai. You can ask me anything you want. So right now I'm doing the novel section. If you want to be a part of it, 12th June, I'm starting with Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. So if you want to be a part of this, be a part of Study IQ. Qualify your UPSC dream of becoming a civil servant. Join English literature course. मैंने English literature course क्यों join करना है? What are the reasons of it? I've separately made a video of it. There are many benefits of taking this course. And I'm sure that, if you want to have any other further inquiry, you can contact on this number that's given 764-000-3000. You can use my code AR Live. My demo videos are there on the website. Just log into the website. Everything is given in the description box. Everything is there in the comment section. So go there. Find out for yourself, and if you have any questions, drop them down in the comment section. I promise I'll answer them. And if you have any other further questions, come join the class and see for yourself that how interesting it is. Thank you, everyone. I would be signing off. Hope you enjoyed the lecture, learned a lot, and remember,